Good morning to you all. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you live from the wastelands of the internet. And I've come once again to bring you news. Hello, B. Hello, Mr. Barkley. If you want to go to Discord and come on in, feel free to do so, B. Just pop on over and I will let you on, and you can help moderate my show because I pretty much have no regular moderation anyway. All right, if you care to join in, please feel free. Anybody's pretty much free to join in. You have a standing invitation. All right. I hope that everybody's having a good day as much as possible, given the circumstances of that everyone has nowadays. It's always a challenge. It's always a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. So we have news. Um, I'm going to try and do a few things kind of a little differently, in a certain sense today. But we're going to start with overseas news. All right. Oh, welcome, welcome in. You can join. So, ceasefire between Israel and Hamas will go into effect Sunday morning, officials say. So, tomorrow, from Cairo and the AP, ceasefire between Hamas and Israel will go into effect Sunday at 8:30 a.m. local time or 6:30 a.m. GMT. Mediator Qatar announced Saturday as families of hostages held in Gaza brace for news of loved ones. You disagree? I said you disagree, B.
Sorry, I'm just having cat problems.
Oh, you sound good. So, you're having cat problems. Is that what you said? Feel free to have the cat do whatever the catty wants.
Well, she's trying to learn to use the cat flap, but she's not quite got it yet, so she keeps meowing to go out, and it's very annoying.
Well, that's what cats do. Overnight, the approval of the deal by Israel's cabinet in a rare meeting during the Jewish Sabbath set off a flurry of activity and a fresh wave of emotions as relatives wondered whether their hostages would be returned alive or dead. The names of the first hostages to be freed were expected to be released later Saturday. Um, I guess you could say this is good news. Um, hello, Vash. Welcome. Uh,
Yeah,
Hello.
really.
so I have two people to try and keep me sane. We'll see how long that
Well, I
lasts.
mean, I I do have a question,
Oh, do you? Okay.
and it's urgent news, and I wanted to ask you.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you think of the ERS being established?
It isn't.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
Oh,
how are we going to abolish the IRS, and how is that going to take its place?
it's not. Okay.
It's not.
No.
So it's
Okay.
just the IRS with new paint.
You got to understand something. The IRS is not going anywhere until there's the will in Congress to do it, and there is no will in Congress to do that. Okay. Now, there's things that the president can do to limit some of the excesses of the IRS, but to be honest, until the tax code is completely rewritten, there's no point in even thinking that this is going to have any real effect.
You bought an American car from us, so you're gonna pay a 13% tax.
It is what it is. All right. I mean, you're gonna taxes and death are the things that are going to be coming. So you have to expect that. By the way, just so you guys can see what I'm doing here
Yeah.
while I'm doing this, this will be.
I've got a little bit of time.
You got a little bit of time. Okay, that's good. Well, the B is here as well. So we will. I'm trying to rearrange my things so that you guys can see, and I can see what the hell's going on. We have Mr. Barkley in the chat, as many of you have already seen. Um, where is this next thing that I'm trying to find? There we go. Now I can do what I want. But I started with the ceasefire. So here's my announcement on the ceasefire. All it is a reloading period. Okay. It's a reloading period for Hamas because the problem, any deal with Hamas is useless. Hamas is a symptom. Oh, they're a real symptom that has to be dealt with, but they're a symptom of the problem. And it's going to take somebody to say, look, to the Palestinians, you either deal with your problems or I decide you're the problem and I deal with you. Because that's really what it is. The Palestinians can come back. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I haven't really been following it too much lately, just because it gets like a lot of news. But they haven't actually released the hostages, or
No.
they've killed the last of the hostages. What's
No, they've arranged a ceasefire. The hostages are supposed to be released, but none have been released yet. And Hamas has said they will return the hostages, whether they're alive or dead. That's what Hamas has agreed to. But nobody knows which hostages are alive and which hostages are dead.
Yeah, I mean, one of them is like a baby.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure the baby's dead, unfortunately. These people are. You got to understand. This is a as Batman put it, it's a 6th century mentality with what you're dealing with. But it's not just Hamas. It's all the Palestinians in that region. None of them really want peace. And that's because peace isn't the absence of conflict. Just because people aren't shooting one another or somebody isn't getting brutalized in front of you at the moment, that doesn't mean it's peaceful. Okay? True peace is the absence of threat. And the Palestinians won't ever stop threatening people. They will never stop threatening the Israelis that have lived there, grown up there, been born there. They want to drive them into the sea and retake everything over and somehow think that somehow they will live the life of Riley. That's not going to happen. Sadly. Alrighty, let's get on to the next story, shall we? 2 Iranian Supreme Court judges.
Like, none of the neighbors actually like them, do they?
Say that again.
Even if they got rid of Israel, they're still going to have problems with like Egypt, Jordan.
Oh yeah,
because none of them like them.
Oh yeah, none of them like each other, right? In fact, here we have one here. 2 Iranian Supreme Court justices shot dead in Tehran. In a rare shooting in downtown Tehran, 2 prominent judges from the country's Supreme Court have been killed and another wounded, so 3 of them, according to the Iranian state media reports. Little information was released about the attacker, but at least one of the judges was killed was known to handle death penalty cases for activists and opposition members. Violent attacks like this shooting are uncommon in Iran, a country where arms of the state security maintain tight control of the society. Footage from outside the Supreme Court building on Saturday showed security forces filling the street and yellow police tape, all right, cordoning off the area. So you basically have Supreme Court justice. Now, okay, for people who don't understand this about the Islamic court system, specifically in Iran, they run the country. This is a theocratic state. They don't run it from an administrative standpoint. They run it from a judicial standpoint, where they hold the Quran and say the Quran is the rule of law, and the judges determine what that law means in every single case. Now, what the administration does with that, well, that's up to them. Well, we're not controlling the country. We just determine what are the laws. It's run by Theo from the Cosby Show. Not quite. Not quite, Mr. Berkeley. But the judges, let's be honest, these guys, they have their own way of ruling in this, and if they decide that you violated the law, they then get to decide what the law says is the punishment. So they're judge, jury, and executioner. But well, they're not actually the executioner. They leave that to the administrative state. That's how it works. I went to public school, by the way. We'll be talking about
So
school.
were they executed?
Say that what? Say that again, B.
Were they executed? Did America do it?
No, we didn't do this. Mainly because we would have done things differently. This most likely was exactly what they're seeing from. These are probably some of the real hardliners that are on the court, and there are people who've lost their loved ones and said, "I've got nothing to lose, and I'm just going to go ahead and you killed my wife, you killed my daughter, you killed my son. I'm going to get rid of you." That's what this is. This is most likely this is an honor killing. Okay, so they are. If it was something that we were going to do, to be honest, if we were really trying to meddle in these kind of affairs, the best way to do it is when they're quote unquote in session, dropping a bomb and eliminating all of them at once. Just more efficient.
Yeah, I understand that, but this is still the last of the Biden administration, so
Well,
he wasn't exactly high on that rating.
you have a valid point. You're making a valid assessment there. That is kind of the way the ice cream boy would sit there and handle it. In the fantasy side of the news, Germany could send troops to future Ukraine buffer zone, says minister. Germany's defense minister said he was open to sending German soldiers to Ukraine to help secure a demilitarized zone if if a ceasefire were agreed with Russia, in remarks published on Saturday. In an interview with the Süddeutsche Zeitung, which is, I guess, the southern German newspaper, Boris, what a good German name, Boris, huh? Kind of sounds like he has a few friends on it in Russia, doesn't it? Pistorius, all right, said Germany should aim to spend around 3% of its GDP on defense. Really? So you mean live up to your NATO commitments, you pieces of garbage? U.S. President-elect Donald Trump wants NATO members alliance to devote 5% of their national output on defense, a demand that has already been rejected as too high by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. I don't think that the people understand something about Trump. Trump isn't playing around with this. Okay? Now, unlike Britain, and unlike the UK, okay, the vast majority of these quote unquote NATO countries haven't been living up to their NATO commitments, neither in troops nor in equipment nor anything else. Germany is huge a huge beneficiary of this system, and they've been cheating it for decades. And they're not the only ones. America's hat has been doing the same BS. For those who don't know, I'm talking about Canada. Canada hasn't been living up to its NATO commitments in any way, shape, or form for decades. Trump saying you better spend 5% on your GDP for your defense isn't a threat. It's a very simple thing. If you're not going to live up to your NATO commitments, then there's no reason for the United States to be in NATO. Have fun. Because we can pull out whenever we so desire. Or am I being just a bit too harsh, B?
But all of these are poor and impoverished countries, and MC, the Americans are rich, and they could just give monies, and it'd be free monies, and everybody'd be happy, MC.
Yeah. Right now, it's hilarious to me that they talk about how they need the Ukraine. In order to survive, the Ukraine needs American support and American weapon systems.
Yeah, they want you to do all the work.
Well, where's Europe's commitment to this? We've been told all
Well,
these.
Europe has realised that in comparison to America, they're fucking poor.
They've been living under America's defensive umbrella for too freaking long, and they've gotten fat, dumb, and
They
happy
have
with it.
complacency.
And it's about time that these people started living up to their own freaking commitments. And I believe that
Mm-hmm.
in NATO. I believe that also in the UN. I'm tired of the UN. If it was up to me, I'd have kicked the UN out decades ago because they've been anti-American with their freaking commentary and just soaking us budget-wise for too friggin' long. And it's about time people started doing things on their own. Meanwhile, a Japan crime leader pleads guilty to conspiring to sell nuclear materials to Iran. From NPR News, National Public Radio. The purported leader of a Japan-based crime syndicate pled guilty Wednesday to charges of alleging that he conspired to traffic uranium and plutonium from Myanmar in a belief that Iran would use it for nuclear weapons. Takashi Ebisawa, of 60, of Japan, entered a plea in a Manhattan federal court to weapons and narcotics trafficking charges that carry a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years. 10 years? Did you realize you only get 10 years for trading the nuclear weapons?
Maybe he'd get 5 because he'd be out on good behaviour.
What are you in for, selling nukes? I get out tomorrow. Oh my God.
That's disgraceful.
Oh, this guy should be thrown under the jail, all right? And the possibility.
I think maybe send him to Iran to live there. That's punishment enough.
And a possibility of life behind bars. Excuse me, I got a little bit of sun sneeze now. So it's a minimum of 10 up to life behind bars. So they could put him behind the bars permanently. Ebusawa. Excuse me. I have got to freaking. Excuse me. While I get my little snot right here. I'll keep the audience from here. Sorry about that, folks. A little bit of dead air for you, but you didn't need to hear me, emptying my schnoz. Uh, yeah. Look, it's okay. I want people to understand something. This guy was talking about trading from Miramar, right? Miramar is not going to have much in the way of nuclear weapons, okay, or nuclear weapon material. But I want it to be understood. Japan does, okay. Japan uses what's called a breeder reactor. Right? Have you heard of a breeder reactor before, Vash
No.
or B? Okay, what a breeder reactor does is it uses plutonium and also adds in fuel of uranium 238. Okay, now why does it add in fuel from 238? Uranium 238, which is 95 to 98% of all uranium that you pull out of the ground is U-238. Okay, and I could go into why, but the main reason that you end up that way has to do with the fact that U-238 has a very long half-life. Okay, so but what it does, what the reactor does, is it takes the U-238 and turns it into plutonium, which then feeds the reactor. So so what you have is a system that breeds more plutonium to be used in the reactors. Does that make sense? So basically, they're creating plutonium from the U-238 in the reactor. This is called a breeder reactor. All right, it's very very efficient. We've known about it for years. All right, this kind of technology has been around since the 1950s. Okay, so it's not new technology per se, but the production of plutonium is the important part because plutonium, the different isotopes of plutonium, for the most part, are fissionable. It's just the different isotopes you have to use a different amount. Okay, so in other words, with uranium, in order for you to create an atomic bomb, everybody knows that you need uranium with isotope 235, right? Why? Because it's easily fissionable, all right, in a runaway type of environment for the cascade effect. And it has to do with neutron flow. Just I don't want to go too deep in the woods and in the weeds with this. Plutonium, all plutonium, if you get enough of it, is fissionable. It's just that it's just that simple. I think everybody's seen that the little glowing ball of plutonium.
Yep.
So that's just an example of what plutonium is like. Now, so when people say, "Well, it's weapons grade plutonium," it's kind of a misnomer. Yes, certain you like 242, I think it is, or is it 262? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the numbers. No, I think it's 242. 240 plutonium 242. I think it's very highly unstable. All right, and so you need less of it to create a bomb. Right, so it's considered more weapons grade than other isotopes of of plutonium. Just probably more than what you ever cared to see or hear about from plutonium. But
Well, I mean, I've been investing in stocks for depleted uranium.
okay, let me ask a question. Do you know what depleted uranium is used for? Aside from using it as material for some of our tanks for some of our tank shells.
Go on.
Um, depleted uranium is very dense. Okay, and because it's dense, it can be used easily as shielding for radioactivity. All you have to do is the uranium itself, to deplete uranium itself, is what they call an alpha emitter. So you need like a plywood in front of it, and you won't get any of the radiation pretty much from that from the uranium itself.
Nice.
Okay, um, when I say plywood, it's I'm not joking. Right, an alpha emitter won't go through plywood. Right, like a standard half-inch sheet of plywood will stop pretty much all the radiation from uranium by itself. You're assuming it's not fissioning, however, just so you understand the difference. But depleted uranium won't fission on its own. But it's a very dense material and was often used in, where you have like you're treating for cancer with radiation machines. And there was a time period where depleted uranium was used in the walls of the hospitals, all right, to shield the rest of the people who were, within the hospital from the radiation treatment that was going on for each patient.
Well, yeah, I knew about that and a couple of other medical reasons, which is why I decided to look out for the Nasdaq of depleted uranium, and I'm investing in that as stocks.
Probably a good thing. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know what would a good stock or bad stock do. Nuclear fishing sounds great. The fish have 3 eyes. On to the next show, shall we? As we go around the world, Saudi Arabia's holiest city, Mecca, was flooded after being hit with extreme rain. Saudi Arabia's Mecca, the holiest city in Islam, has been hit by extreme weather. Footage circulating on social media shows entire neighborhoods partially submerged amid heavy rainfall. Men were seen forming human chains to rescue children, all right, who had become trapped in the flooding in the Awali neighborhood southeast of Mecca. In another video, a man is seen rushing to the aid of a delivery driver who toppled off his bike in floodwaters and was struggling to get up. Commuters make their way through the flooded road of Mecca, as you can see going through there. Multiple cars and even a tourist bus were abandoned right in the middle of the road as floodwaters gushed unexpectedly. Trees, debris were also seen as being swept away by the raging water. Several regions of the Gulf Kingdom, including Mecca and Medina, all right, which attract millions of pilgrims annually for the Hajj, all right, have been hit by the freak rain. Since the early hours of this morning, the downpour has only intensified. And this story was written on January 6th. Okay. Mecca gets tons of rain. LA, we get fires. The weather patterns are weather patterns, folks. This is not global warming. All right. I can tell you right now, Saudi Arabia would love to have rain and be able to turn itself into a verdant plain, which it could turn into if it got enough rain, to be honest. That entire peninsula could be very green, okay, if it had enough water. Now, where are you going to get the water from? Well, it falls out of the sky. That's good. But one of the consequences, one of the things that they've never been able to truly add to the models when they talk about global warming and all these other models that they talk about, is how much of the atmosphere, okay, will absorb water off of the oceans. So the rainfall patterns, okay, would shift to a degree. How much and in what direction? Quite frankly, we have no way of modeling that. We just don't have the ability. I mean, we can do cursory types of models, but if you try to add that to the global warming, it's almost impossible. On to the next story. Off to South Korea. A court hearing on whether to issue an arrest warrant for the impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol over his short-lived imposition of martial law ended Saturday after 5 hours. The hearing at the Seoul Western District Court ran from 2 p.m. to 6:50 p.m. with Yoon in attendance. He then returned to the detention center where he has been held since Wednesday to await the court's decision. Sounds like he's already been arrested.
Yeah.
All right. The president faithfully explained and responded regarding the facts and evidence and legal issues. His lawyer, Yoon Gap Yoon. All right. I'm not trying to butcher your names. If I'm butchering your names out there, I do apologize. All right. I'm really not trying to butcher them. And my 2 years in Korea has not made my pronunciations any better, unfortunately. Right. Told reporters outside the court, we will wait quietly until the court's decision comes out. How are we going to wait loudly?
I wouldn't expect them to wait loudly.
Yeah. The court is expected to issue or reject a warrant for his formal arrest early Sunday. All right. First of all, the guy imposed martial law. He claimed he imposed martial law because he had evidence of collusion and an expected coup from North Korea, right? With some of the South Korean legislative leaders. Let's put it that way, right? How accurate is that? I have no idea. Okay. Do I believe that there are South Korean legislators that are compromised? Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Okay. Let me detail a story so people understand things. South Korea never went through the industrialization process. Okay, they went from being a feudalistic society to a modern monetary state overnight, basically, because at the end of World War II, they fell under the United States. Okay, and North Korea, of course, fell under the Soviet Union, so they were the ones that were industrializing. Why? Because they had steel and they had coal in North Korea, and therefore they could industrialize very quickly. South Korea has very little in natural resources in comparison to the North. The problem with that is over time, those of us in the West have learned, okay, that as you shift society, money becomes a corrupting factor in a significant degree that is different than what it's like for a feudalistic society. Okay, why? Because power in a feudalistic system is land. The more people you have under your control, because the land you control gives you power. In a monetary system, money is what drives power. Okay? Now, why is this different? Because there's certain traditions that were always part of the South Korean culture. Like when somebody has a like a leader has a child born, for example, the people around the district come together and they give little gifts, right? Like I'll give you a statue, I'll give your son a statue or your daughter a statue, and all these things as gifts, right? This becomes bribery in a monetary system, however. Okay? And while I was in Korea, my second tour, okay, we were not allowed to celebrate the 4th of July with fireworks. And the reason for it is just a couple days prior to that, a 5-story department store in Seoul pancaked onto itself, killing a bunch of people naturally, right? Not, and I'm not talking 10 or 20, I'm talking hundreds, okay? Because it was absolutely full. Well, when they did a study to find out why the building pancaked on itself, there's 2 things they found. First was it was overloaded with people. There was more people in the department store than was supposed to be in the department store. But the other reason they found was that substandard concrete and steel was used in the building of the building. And of course, what it came down to is, you're supposed to use like 560 steel, and somebody says, here's a little bit of money, inspector. So yeah, this is the right steel. That's what happens there. It's sad, but graft is the graft is so common there that they're trying, and they are trying to fix that. But graft is a problem in South Korea. It really is. South Koreans are like Ferengi. They really are. Meanwhile, in the evil empire of the United States, Trump to begin large-scale deportations on Tuesday. Chicago will. Right. He takes office Monday. For those who don't know. All right, he's officially inaugurated on Monday. Chicago will be an early target with as many as 200 officers being sent to carry out the operation, say people familiar with the planning. The incoming Trump administration is planning a large-scale immigration raid in Chicago next week, according to 4 people familiar with the planning, the first move in President-elect Donald Trump's promised mass deportation campaign. The raid is expected to begin on Tuesday morning, a day after Trump is inaugurated, and will last all week, the people said. U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement will send between 100 and 200 officers to carry out the operation. Trump ran for president on a bold promise to carry out the largest mass deportations in U.S. history. Okay. I think that one thing that people tend to forget is what it would take to do mass deportations in America. And the fact that, okay, what would it take to carry out the largest mass deportations in U.S. history? When was the last time we've done a mass deportation? Vash? I'm sure B has no idea what
Was that when you kicked us out, the Brit?
No. Believe it or not, we were more along that there was a I will admit this, all right. After the war was over, there were a number of quote unquote loyalists that did leave. All right, the vast majority of them went to Canada, but it was only a few hundred went to Canada. Actually, a lot more went to South Africa. Did you know that? But no, and that was self deportation. They could stay there; they would just be abused. It was kind of we're going to flee for our lives kind of deal. Right. Well, it was
Yeah.
in the South. All right. For those who don't know, the southern part of the United States had a large segment of loyalists in the Revolutionary War, and people we talk about it as a Revolutionary War, but in the South, it was very much a a civil war, in the sense that you had neighbors killing other neighbors, and the reasons for it sure could be pointed out, saying, well, that one's a loyalist, oh, that one's a rebel, that one's a revolutionary. But it was a lot of clan on clan kind of activity. You did to this, there was a lot of personal settlements that were taking place, right? A lot of robbery, theft, burning of houses, and all sorts of things. So it was bloody. It was nasty down there. Why Cornwallis thought that, oh, we'll get plenty of sympathy down here with a group of people that are killing each other? I'll never know. Cornwallis' southern strategy was it was doomed. It was doomed from the start. But anyway, back to the mass deportations. No, the largest mass deportation that we did as the United States, to my mind, okay, was the Indian Removal Act, all right, which led to the Trail of Tears. And you're talking approximately 15,000 Native Americans were removed from Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, right, and moved basically across the Mississippi into what is now, for all intents and purposes, Texas and Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma territories, right? Now there's a lot of misunderstanding about the Trail of Tears. Um, the one thing that isn't misunderstood is that it was a tragedy, and many of the Native Americans died on the Trail of Tears, right? That were removed. It was a freaking disaster. All right, there's no sugarcoating that. There's no way of it, trying to hide that fact. But you were talking about 15. We'll say we'll just be generous. We'll double it. We'll go to 30,000 people. Okay, so 30,000 people removed from the United States temporarily because they were reacquired when we continued going west and Manifest Destiny and all that. All right. 30,000 people. You're probably going to have that happen easily under the Trump administration in these raids. And the reason you're going to have it happen in these raids is there's large pools that are going to be swept through. Chicago is one of the areas. New York is another area, right? The last area they'll try it in is California, but considering what's going on in California now, kind of like, who knows? Meanwhile, claiming he was intimidated by a pro-Trump political sign and flag attached to his next-door neighbor's fence, a Florida man tore the items down and tossed them into an adjacent lake, according to police who arrested the registered Democrat. Welcome.
Hello. And B, you smell.
I smell great.
Welcome, Jetson. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Let me put up
I thought Florida was a red state.
Florida.
Yes.
Florida is a red state. You are correct.
Well, no, let's be fair. It's red with hints of purple around certain areas. Cough, cough, Miami.
Miami.
You can't accuse that.
Miami-Dade and Browning are very bluish. They are blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry to be pedantic there.
No. Okay. So be just to let you guys, people know, understand why everyone talks about Florida being red. Florida really isn't red. Okay. The reason people think of it as red is only a fairly recent phenomenon, right? Prior to the Bush Jr., right? W. Florida was either a toss-up state or blue, right? And the reason for that is many people who retired in Florida, the blue hairs, came from deep blue states like New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. These people, when they got older and had money, said, you know what? I don't have to shovel snow if I move to Florida, right? And so for the longest time, Florida was a haven, all right, for the Democrats, okay? And in fact, the ones that weren't Democrats were actually in the Miami area initially because they were the people who had fled communism. There's huge areas of the Cuban population down there. And they were very anti-Democrat for a while. The Democrats worked really hard to change the Cubans into Democrats. Okay? And they had some success, right? Especially with the younger generation of Cubans. Okay? But then, of course, all hell broke loose down there, and people realized that maybe this is not a good idea. Especially when they tried to, they elected a few Democratic governors, and then one of the first things that the Democratic governors tried to do was to impose a state income tax, and that's a drawing line down there. That's why it's considered red, though. It's because it has more to do with taxes than anything else, right?
Well, I do know from history that we should not try and force Cubans to read. It is not successful.
I think Maddie would disagree with you, to be honest.
I am voluntarily
No.
saying nothing.
I'm not saying they can't read. Just don't force them to read.
I think you're being a bit harsh there, Vash. I really do. I'm not saying you're totally wrong.
They know how to read if they want to. Just don't try and force them to read. Is all I'm saying.
And my version is this. So this is the last show Vash will be seen. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
something tells me
if he encounters Maddie, he might
kill him. Yeah.
Then he'd be like, "What, you saying that we can't read? No. That's a Castro joke."
Yeah, she'll castrate you. I mean, no, sorry, did I say it out loud?
Let's get back to this. Police accuse Lee Jonathan Farber, 55, of forcibly ripping a sign and flag from a wooden fence post. Farber reportedly did not like the pro-Trump political signs and had been screwed into the 67-year-old Leon Pierce's white picket fence.
He's 67.
Well, the guy, the old man was the 67-year-old, stood up there and screwed on these signs. Pierce, a registered Republican, told the Smoking Gun that he had affixed a rotating collection of spray-painted signs to his fence with pro-Donald Trump and anti-Joe Biden messages. So this guy was going all out.
Really, you pissed him off.
The sign, 8 days to go and F you, Joe.
Freaking based.
I'm okay with that.
It sounds like the 67-year-old had a lot of time on his hands and really hated Joe Biden.
And his neighbor.
I think the thing to the neighbor is like stick it in your face, nanny and you.
Well, I mean, we all have to have hobbies whenever we retire, you know, MC.
Well, we have some more hobby stories a little bit later today.
Oh dear.
FBI sounds alarm over AT&T hacks stealing the agent call logs that I assume say may instead of man expose informants. Hackers who breached the AT&T system may have handed criminals a roadmap to the FBI informants, stealing call logs that could unravel investigations and jeopardize lives, according to alarming new details revealed Thursday. FBI officials have warned that last year's AT&T system breach likely led to the theft of months' worth of call and text records tied to federal agents, raising concerns about the safety of confidential informants, Bloomberg News reported. The hack, which reportedly affected all FBI devices using AT&T Public Safety Service, exposed the agents' phone numbers and the numbers they contacted. Although the breach didn't reveal the content of communications, whoa. They said they had text messages, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the text messages were like pizza. Yeah, sure.
Oh, that proves everything. There you go.
Okay. Now here's the first thing.
Sure to get the eggs, and can you buy me an energy drink while you're at the store?
Okay. Here's the first thing. This was in April of 2022. and it was
Mhm.
first
Wait, they've been
disclosed
testing it for nearly 3 years.
in July. So it's 2025 now, and they're admitting to how bad this is. I don't think that they're doing this because they're worried about their quote unquote confidential informants or any of their agents per se, in the sense of trying to stop like drug dealers or anything else.
Yeah.
I think that this is a warning that all the FBI people who are working against Trump that all their stuff is out there. Because Trump is going
I
to come
was
in.
actually going to say, do they actually work in the FBI? I can't remember the last time they did anything relevant.
No, that's not fair, and I'm going to get in so much trouble for this line. Of course they're working. Who do you think tried to assassinate Trump the last couple of times? Oh, did I say it out loud again?
That's the messages they want to know.
Yep.
I honestly think that there's a lot of stuff that you have to go into the FBI, you have to go into the Department of Justice with a broom and just start getting rid of a whole slew of people.
Now, did you say a broom or a boom? Because I'm
I-
actually okay with my version.
What?
I said broom, just so people understand. The fires in LA are still going on, by the way. LA Water
shut up.
Chief Yanis Quinones given police security detail amid threats against her and her employees.
Hmm.
Right? The Los Angeles water chief has been given a police security detail amid threats against her and water employees as wildfires swept through Southern California, two Los Angeles police sources told Fox News. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power CEO Yanis Quinones now has 24/7 LAPD detail in response to the threats. One LAPD source cited the recent shooting of New York CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson. This woman reportedly makes $750,000 a year. Stop. If she makes $750,000 a year, why can't she hire her own security?
No, I think she should have 24-hour security when she's in jail.
Yeah.
She is facing criticism over Los Angeles fire preparedness and water distribution amid wildfires in the area. We confirm that threats have been made against our employees, including incidents in the field that occurred at the DWP facility downtown Tuesday evening, the Department of Water and Power told Fox News. We take every threat and incident seriously and report them immediately to law enforcement. Okay, this is the woman who's in charge of it, Yanis Quinones. I'm not trying to butcher this person's name. All right.
Only forehead.
Yeah. The department added, our employees work tirelessly around the clock to support the city's response. Their work is critical to those efforts. They are an essential part of the city family. They are part of the community. There's no place in society for our city or in our city for threats to their safety. Quinn has previously said that she views her
What about
position.
the safety of the people she endangered? Does that not mean anything?
This is why she's endangered.
She should be in danger.
Right? Quinones has previously said that she views her position through an equity lens and uses it to provide social justice. Okay, now if you're providing social justice, okay, burning down most of Hollywood could be seen as that way, right? Or am I just missing something? Yes? No? Maybe?
Look, I'm just gonna say probably a good thing, let's be honest. I mean, it's clearing out the real estate for rebuilding. How does that sound? I think that's the excuse.
Bill Gates, right?
That was the excuse that was used in London back in, 1666.
But most of Hollywood, all right. First of all, the Palisades.
Mm-hmm.
The Palisades were in an area where these homes were, $15, $20 million homes. Okay. These were put up. The ones that were you saw next to one another were what they used to call McMansions, right? These were not lack of wealth people.
Yeah.
That's not to say that they were hyper wealthy, but they were people that rubbed elbows, right, with the Hollywood elitists. Okay.
Yeah.
Malibu got burned to the ground. Okay, a lot of the Malibu homes that you've seen in all the movies, right? A lot of those got burned as well. So when you talk about social justice, if you're going to turn a blind eye to what happened in Minneapolis, calling it social justice, well, why aren't you calling this social justice? Just, I'm not saying that it is, okay, but in any way stretch the imagination, right?
Nomad, come on, man. It's fiery but peaceful. You know that, okay?
Yeah, fires of peace. Wildfires for peace. They were just, of course.
Oh, I think that's a good idea.
In fact, the BLM, woman that was buying mansions.
Yeah.
Two of those mansions were burned down.
Good.
Oh no! I'm so upset. Can you hear how upset I am?
Just put it out
I feel
there.
terrible.
So
yeah, it'd be better if they'd been putting it out as well.
So,
sorry.
Now, one of the things that I did find interesting is I saw a clip of a guy. I think it was on Joe Rogan, right, where one of the old, I believe he was the old fire chief, right? Who he basically said that the water for the Palisades area, that the water being provided, that they knew it was substandard, and that the pipes, instead of putting in 4-inch pipes, they were putting in 2-inch pipes, and that that all that had been approved by city officials, even though it was against code.
Shock.
Okay. Hence why all the places burned to the ground. There are a number of other things that have come out recently, like when the Palisades fire first started, right? They had 40 fire trucks available to send and 1,000 firefighters to send. Instead, they sent 5.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
So there is a lot of how do I put this? there are a lot of questions that need to be answered about what was going on. All right, and I think what it's going to come down to is why. Okay, so why would they use 2-inch pipe rather than 5-inch or 4-inch pipe or 5-inch pipe? Money. It's a lot cheaper. 2-inch pipe is a hell of a lot cheaper than and it's easier to work with. Okay, so there's a lot. Mr. Barkley, that reminds me, I need to replace my pipes. All right. Since you're here, B and Jensen, you can answer this one.
Wasn't me. I didn't do it.
McDonald's sex for shift scandal as 700 staff and ex-workers take legal action. Fast food giant McDonald's has been rocked by fresh claims that young staff in the UK were subjected to sexual and other forms of harassment by restaurant managers. More than 700 current and McDonald's staff are suing the firm over allegations bosses sexually abused them as teenagers. The burger giant has been hit by new claims just a year after the UK chief Alistair McCrow, all right, apologized for resorted accusations. The the, the accusations or allegations include sex for shifts. You want that shift? You got to sleep with me. All right. In the comments today, McDonald's was accused of becoming a predator paradise.
Does it say where in the UK, or is it?
I believe it's like Kennington is where they were talking about it, Kensington or something like that. I'm not a thing. Than a year ago, they vowed to tackle claims of sexual abuse and harassment, but the shocking behavior towards teenage staff allegedly continues. It said that 700 current and former employees are now taking legal action against the burger giant. There are also discriminations, homophobia, and racism claims. The staff alleged bosses asked youngsters how many people they had slept with or touched them inappropriately. Around
It's like in the cities, they're run by immigrants.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So like if this is London, Birmingham, or a place like that, then yeah, I would imagine that's quite prevalent.
Yeah, I agree.
She said it was in the West Midlands.
Yeah, near Bradford.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
right up by Yorkie, poor sod.
You're pleased to know, Namad, Bradford is the UK city of culture.
So you're telling me that when I go to the UK for a visit sometime, I have to make sure that I go through Bradford. Is that what you're going to say?
Oh, definitely.
Bradford.
If I may for a moment, based on something Matt has just put, over 1 billion served didn't mean what I thought. I'm just going to check. Have you mentioned about the lovely lady, and I use that term very loosely, Bonnie Blue servicing 1,000 men in a day?
No, don't even bring it. Don't even give her attention.
God.
Give her attention.
40 seconds ago. I mean, what are you doing for the other 39?
Fapping with the other 20 men in the room. Like, it was disgusting. It was really gross.
It is foul. About those rocks from space.
When you just throw one at the UK.
Only one?
Depends how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to throw like a 20-ton freaking rock into the Sea of Japan at about Mach 12.
I'm thinking one about the same size as UK at UK. Thank you very much.
That will kind of have a more devastating effect than just the UK, however. Besides, I could get the same effect by hitting France first.
I'm okay with this. At least that way I get to watch.
I knew you would be okay. Puts his little glasses on, sits back, got a little tea and crumpet.
Oh, mate, you don't. It's popcorn and smile. I don't care. You know.
Man uses GPS tracker to run into woman. Now, to me, this means he ran her over. All right?
Yeah.
In an apparent effort to rekindle a years-long sexual relationship, a Florida man, what a surprise, hid a GPS tracker on the car of a female victim in an attempt to engineer a chance for him to coincidentally run into her, according to a criminal complaint. Investigators allege that Tyler Michael Strack, a 22-year-old Chipotle worker.
Chipotle?
It would be a guy called Tyler, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Tyler from Chipotle, all right, purchased a Cube brand tracker from Best Buy and installed the device on the woman's auto. The victim discovered the tracking device last year and contacted the police using a series of subpoenas. Investigators linked Strack to the items purchased and to an email address provided upon purchase of the Cube tracker. He asked about Strack, the victim, told the cops that she had a brief sexual relationship with him several years ago, which ended with no further substantial contact. During police questionings, Strack reportedly admitted to purchasing the tracker and installing the device on the victim's vehicle at her residence in an attempt to run into the victim.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to do this, okay? Take a look at that picture of that gentleman. Do you notice there's something, shall we say, dodgy growing
got
under
the
his
happy
nose?
Oh,
No, I mean, look at him. The guy has a Hitler moustache. Oh my God.
I think
I
that's
can't even
just.
see it.
I think. I think.
Okay.
I think that's just shadow, to be honest, Jensen.
Yeah, but come on. They couldn't make him look much worse if they tried, could they?
Yeah,
I think he just naturally looks like that. He's got different color eyes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. He was arrested and was released from custody this morning after posting $5,000 bond. They kept this guy with $5,000 bond because he was trying to track his paramour, or his alleged paramour. According to the court records, he'd previously only been cited for traffic infractions like careless driving and so forth. Look, this guy was obviously he needs some help, mental help, right? And this is unfortunately this is the state of where. Okay, I think people have a lack of understanding of what degeneracy is. Okay, and degeneracy isn't just it's anything that basically harms society as a whole, all right, in the sense of the collectedness of society. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
So when you insist upon doing something on an individual style type of basis, is always going to be some type or some form of degeneracy to a degree, right? And different degrees have different outcomes. If you're sleeping with your paramour without being married, it's a form of degeneracy.
Yeah.
So if you're sleeping with your girlfriend, all right, it's a type of degeneracy. Is it a world crashing degeneracy that
Yes.
deserves to have a rock thrown at you?
Yes.
B's like, yeah.
I'm going to remind you, she's the one that wants to harpoon me, so be careful what you say.
we were going to help buy the power program. Anyway.
Hey!
Still accepting donations.
But anyway, the problem with degeneracies is the more and more you keep allowing in society, the further and further society fractures and frays. And we're close to that point right now. All right. That's where we're at. And the only way back from that is you've got to instill legal type of actions to try and reinforce, all right, social norms. Does that make sense?
Can I suggest fear of God?
Well, a giant rock would help with that, to be honest. Back to Florida. Florida housing market facing widespread declines. Price declines. What a surprise. Home prices are falling across Florida this year, according to real estate analyst Nick Gurley. All right, giving hopes to aspiring home buyers who have been squeezed out of the market in recent years. Locals are priced out of the Florida housing market. Vacation homeowners have stopped buying. Investors have stopped buying. Inbound migration has dropped significantly, said Gurley, the CEO of Reventure App. All right, wrote on X earlier this month. And sure enough, the market is now turning down. Okay. Get rid of all the immigrants and be amazed as the prices fall. It's
Supply
not
and demand.
it's not
Yeah.
just that. All right. This is a this is a more serious matter than people realize, and it has to do with the fact that inflation has hit really bad in core sectors like food and energy. The reason people aren't buying homes is they simply can't afford it. They're just trying to survive. All right,
Yeah.
and this is going to be worldwide. This is going to be a lot more severe. The downturn in the economies, I think, are going to be worldwide, and they're going to be much more severe than people realize. All right, so it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few months. The downturn of Florida residents and going down. It's not just Florida. Now, granted, in California, they just freed up a lot of space for new housing. All right.
Are you saying there's a fire sale? Is this what you're telling me?
Well,
Ah,
one of the things that people don't know is that the California regulators, right,
Hmm.
heavily regulate certain things. And one of the industries they heavily regulate is the insurance industry. Okay. The insurance industry for the past 4 years has been leaving California. And they've been notifying customers that they're not going to renew their 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 insurance, especially their fire insurance, and they had been doing this for like the last 5 years. So a lot, and this is where a lot of people are upset about these fires, is because some of the people had their insurances canceled, right? And they couldn't get fire
Yeah.
insurance prior to the the fires going up and burning their home to the ground, right? Now most of the people, most of those Palisades and things like that, they still had insurance, right? But one of the biggest insurance companies in America is one called State Farm. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before,
no.
No, sorry.
right? State Farm is huge. Okay, it's a huge firm. It advertises all over the place, and in fact, it's been a constant advertiser for the Super Bowl. This year, because of
Okay.
the fire, they are not going to do a Super Bowl ad. And the reason for
Mm.
this is because there's people who had their policies canceled. Now, it wasn't it wasn't a it wasn't as bad as people were trying to say, but there were people in the Palisades who lost homes in that Palisades fire that had their insurance company that had State Farm insurance canceled their insurance policies prior to the fire. I want people to understand that.
Yeah.
All right, because they were pulling. State Farm had been pulling out of the state. They had slowly been pulling out of the state, and the reason for it is because these people just the state is out of control. It is.
Yeah, I believe you.
So, and this is another thing about the job market. Even Harvard MBAs are struggling to land jobs.
Oh
Well,
no.
landing for a professional job in the United States has become so tough that even Harvard Business School says its MBAs can't solely rely on the university's name to open doors anymore. 23% of the job seeking Harvard MBAs who graduated last spring are still looking for work 3 months after leaving the campus. That share is up 20% from the prior year during a cooling of the white collar labor market. The figure was 10% in 2022, according to the school. Gee, what does this mean? It means that the overall job market is contracting. Okay? It's also
Mhm.
probably due to the fact that people are starting to realize that a Harvard degree doesn't mean what it used to mean. All right? It means that if I hire you and you got a degree from Harvard, I'm gonna have to watch you seriously to find out whether or not you're there to actually work for the business and actually help it produce and make money, or are you there as an activist
Yeah.
to spread your social
Mhm.
world view? because far too many are more activists than they are, I'm hiring you to help the business. And they're like, that's my job to be an activist. That's helping the business by burning it to the ground.
And a lot of those degrees now are very what's the word? Shit.
Worthless.
Well, they're things like helping Black people become leaders in a business, and it's like there's going to be very few opportunities for you to actually use that skill.
But let's be honest,
Let's
it's better
go
than
somewhere
lesbian
else.
dance theory. Come on.
Sorry?
It's better than lesbian dance theory, and you know that was one of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of them, because have you looked at the OU stuff?
No?
Bullshit.
Ah.
Have a look at it.
Oh dear.
It's no longer math, English, science. It's literally all it's fucking bullshit.
Well, we have some stories about that too.
Oh God.
The Washington Post has started laying off roughly 4% of its workforce, the company said on Tuesday, as the newspaper struggles to stem millions of dollars in annual losses. The cuts will affect fewer than 100 people across the Post's business divisions, which includes its advertising, marketing, and information technology teams. They will not affect the Post's newsroom, which 2 years ago reduced its workforce by roughly 240 jobs, right, through a voluntary buyout program. The cuts are part of a plan to adjust to the business conditions, the company said in a statement. The Washington Post is continuing its transformation to meet the needs of the industry, build a more sustainable future, and reach audiences where they are, the statement said. Changes across our business functions are all in service of our greater goal to best position the Post for the future. Burn it to the ground. Okay. The Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, for those who don't know. Okay. Jeff Bezos, another thing about Jeff Bezos and Amazon is there is a number of government contracts that have been let by the various intelligence agencies to these guys. Okay. Ostensibly for technology purposes, but it is what it is. Okay. The biggest problem that the Post has is that the Washington Post, DC, is there is no attempt at any kind of purple colorization into the blue. Does that make sense? It's so left wing. It's so out of control, right? By people who are so freaking woke that they can't see what this paper is doing anymore. Okay? Because they are so out of touch with the rest of the country. And they're upset because they're saying, hey, you need to have some people in here with a different political viewpoint. And they're like, all right, did you see the movie Blues Brothers? When they come into the country area, they go, what kind of music do you guys like here? Oh, we like all kinds, both kinds. Right.
Country and western.
Yes.
Yep.
Think of the opposite of that, and that's DC. Okay. They are so lost in the left loony land, right? And the worst part is this is where all the bureaucrats are at. So all the bureaucracy is so steeped in this stuff, they don't even realize how out of touch they are because everyone around them, right, is the same.
Yeah.
They don't realize what they've forgotten just how this is one of the reasons why if you really wanted to help the country, well, honestly, if Trump wanted to do something to really help the country, one of the first things he should do is take the Pentagon and say, you know what, we're moving the Pentagon to North Dakota, and we're going to move the Justice Department. We're going to relocate that down to Texas, and we're going to relocate. We're going to relocate the State Department to California. And the reason for that is you would break up this little cabal that just keeps feeding in on itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's desperately needed. And what's more is it's something that with today's technology, there's no reason we shouldn't do it. Okay, because today's
Mm-hmm.
technology, the reason it was before is because we had 13 colonies. You had to create a center there. Okay, it was quite a bit
Yeah.
different back in the day. That's one of the
Yeah.
main reasons they
Worldwide.
needed. Go on.
I was saying worldwide communication has, to say the least, changed everything.
Yes. Yeah. Supreme Court to hear arguments on porn age verification law.
Here we go.
Challengers say that Texas's statute violates the rights of adults who wish to access sites. The Supreme Court will hear arguments on Wednesday over a Texas law that requires pornography websites to verify the age of their visitors, a case over salacious content that might influence the power of Congress and states to regulate minors' access to the internet. In a free speech coalition et al. Versus Paxton, a group of challengers are set to urge the justices to overturn the Texas law as an unconstitutional infringement on the free speech rights of adults in Texas. They argue in court filings that Texas's effort to prevent minors from accessing sexual content online chills the rights of adults to access the online content they want, and requiring verification information exposes those adult visitors to potential identity theft, fraud, and other risks. The law, signed by Governor Greg Abbott in 2023, requires that pornography websites verify the identity of their users through documentations like a government-issued ID, and imposes a $10,000 fine per violation or a $250,000 fine if it involves a minor. Okay. I forgot to click this so that people could see it online of where this is from.
Mhm.
This is Roll Call. All right, is the site that did this. They're gonna lose. Okay, the Supreme Court. All right, first of all, there's nothing inherently against the Constitution to say that you can't protect minors by saying you have to verify that they're 18 years and above. All right.
Yeah.
Prior to the age of the internet, there were. I'm going to put this out there. There were
Max.
grocery stores. All the grocery stores had a section of magazines
Mm-hmm.
that were 18 years and above.
Cough,
Where
cough,
women were
top shelf.
topless. You could see that they were topless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, we're
I
talking
thought it was like
full.
a rite of passage anyway for like a teenage boy to discover
Yeah.
Well,
the
you
porno mag.
well you had all of this, all right. But what my the thing about this is it was, like I said, it was every grocery store had a section like this that had because you had a magazine rack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were put in there where you weren't allowed, if you were underage, to grab these things, just like cigarettes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now there was a movie, The People versus Larry Flint. Right? Have you heard about that?
Okay.
With who was it? Woody Harrelson played Larry Flint.
I think I've heard of it, but it's unfortunately not something that I immediately grab in my brain. You know?
Right. Well, basically, what people don't realize after watching the movie, a lot of people didn't understand this. Larry Flint lost that case. Okay.
Oh.
All right. I mean, and it all comes down to, all right, sexualization of children. So the problem with the internet issue is how do you truly verify somebody's 18 years old? Okay.
Yeah.
What
It's all
Texas?
checkbox.
Yeah. So what Texas was saying is that before you go on that site, you have to provide an ID card of some sort, some kind of ID information. All right. Now, many of the states pull out, or many of the websites, rather, the porn websites pulled out of Texas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, though, understand that, okay, you're asking for verification for this group here. If I use a VPN, how do you know I'm in Texas violating the law?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go into certain things, but this becomes a problem for the quote unquote owners of these websites, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been the wild west in the U.S. Eventually, they're going to settle down, and this is what I believe. They're going to settle down to saying, okay, if you provide a certain credit card information, that'll be, or whatever, that's what they're going to go with. Okay. Now, as far as the validity of you are leaving these people potentially vulnerable, because if the site is hacked and they get a hold of your verification information, damage could be done to you. They're not wrong about that. They're also not wrong that these people will sell your information to somebody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. People that deal in
Could I?
porn will very likely not have any problems selling your information to a third party. Okay. I just want you to know, understand that.
Okay.
I
Could
have
I
to
also point out one? Go on, B. You first.
say, I have to ask, how big is the problem with children accessing porn in Texas? Like, is this like
Oh, it's
something
mass. It's
that they
mass.
should be concerned about?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
All right. Compared to what porn on the internet, compared to what it was like for porn for children before, was a huge. It's a massive problem across the country. It's not just Texas, across the country. It is a massive problem.
I mean, if I don't want my child watching porn, I take the device from them.
You don't know what that sounds all well and good until they go over to their friend's house.
Well, they're not
Yeah.
going to their house.
Right now, I agree. I agree that it would be easier to sit up there and say, to tell the kids, because I don't believe that there's no reason a 16-year-old, all right, should be running around with their own personal cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, 16 in the UK is an adult, so they can go watch porn if they want.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We're a bit prudish, in case you hadn't noticed.
No, really?
Americans tend to be a bit more prudish than the British, and all the Europeans for that matter.
Yeah.
Considering how we were
We're
founded, it's not
considered
much of a
prudes.
surprise. All right, I want you to understand this.
And just remember this: we're considered the prudes in comparison to the Europeans.
Okay.
So it says a lot, really.
Yeah, but
Cough, cough. France,
you-
12.
you kicked out your extremist elements. They came here. They're the ones that founded us. Remember?
We technically kicked them out. We sent them to you lot and to Australia. And actually, now to think about it, that explains a lot about both countries, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, it is what it is. All right. America is an odd place, but the biggest problem that you're going to have with trying to enforce this is, how do you put reasonable blocks in place?
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be extraordinarily difficult, if not frankly impossible. All right.
Yeah.
So what will happen is, at some point, is a lot of these porn sites are going to get banned.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. All right. And they're going to. Then what's going to happen is that a porn site that can't afford to put in these kind of things will sell out to a larger things. You're going to create a porn empire. There's going to be one or two websites or one or two groups that basically control all the porn, because it's going to have to consolidate in order to meet the regulation.
Pornhub takes over.
Pornhub becomes the world. We'd be like Pornhub, OnlyFans, and some other website. I don't know.
Ugh.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course it'll become all sorts of weird little things that are going on with it. But yes, porn is a huge issue here in the United States. It is a problem. All right. And if you don't understand that, all you have to do is take a look at schools and how often schools have stories, all right, where a teacher or the children were accessing porn in the school on the school computers.
Yeah.
Because it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have this story. SCOTUS blog founder Tom Goldstein faces tax evasion charges. SCOTUS blog publisher and co-founder Tom Goldstein, was indicted on federal tax evasion charges Thursday. Between 2016 and 2022, Goldstein allegedly schemed to evade the assessment of taxes, file false tax returns, and failed to pay his tax obligations when they were due, according to the indictment, which was filed in the District of Maryland. The 22-count indictment lists 4 counts of tax evasion, 10 counts of aiding and assisting the preparation of false and fraudulent tax returns, 5 counts of willful failure to pay taxes, and 3 counts of relating to false statements on mortgage loan applications. Goldstein was described as an ultra-high stakes poker player and allegedly took millions of dollars from his boutique law firm, Goldstein and Russell, to pay personal debts, including gambling debts, the indictment said. He also underreported his gambling winnings by millions of dollars. Well, if he was winning, he shouldn't have debts.
Mm-hmm.
Goldstein announced his retirement from the United States Supreme Court practice and his firm, which was in Bethesda, Maryland in 2023. At the time, he cited the increasingly conservative balance of the court as one of the reasons. So in other words, this guy started this whole thing, because he was upset that the conservatives, were taking over the court, and he then starts going off on to avoid taxes and everything. So it's another leftist loon, who's basically in the rules for thee, not for me.
As it should be. The left never did nothing wrong.
The left is what's wrong. They're only... I have said this many times, right? But when we talk about left and right, nobody wants to define these things. When you hear a term that's not really that really hasn't been defined, like right wing or left wing, what are you referring to? Normally, when people say left wing, they're looking to people who have a bent of communism. Okay?
Yes.
When you say right wing, what are you talking about?
Nowadays, people are looking at, shall we call it the moustache man? I believe that's how the internet likes the term.
Well, yeah, the mustachioed man was a leftist. Okay? His philosophy was collective and a leftist. All right? It's just that it imposed leadership under a single person.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't get why people, when they use these terms, as soon as you hear that term, you should be like, okay, well, there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay. Meanwhile, just up the street from D.C., 23 Baltimore schools have zero students proficient in math. This per state test results.
Are you shocked?
Oh, it gets better.
Oh dear.
Baltimore City is facing a devastating reality as the latest round of test scores are released. The Project Baltimore analyzed the results and found a shocking number of Baltimore City schools where not a single student was doing math at grade level. We're not living up to our potential, said Giovanni Patterson, a Baltimore resident who made headlines in January 2022 when he filed a lawsuit against Baltimore City schools. The suit claims that the district is failing to educate students and in the process is misusing taxpayer funds. Ding, 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 ding. We, the taxpayer, are funding our own demise, Patterson said. He was
Yeah.
born in Baltimore and has seen the failures firsthand. But when Project Baltimore showed him the test results, all right, for the city, he was momentarily rendered speechless. My immediate reaction is take your kids out of these schools. The Maryland State Department of Education recently released the 2022 state results known as the MCAP, all right, Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. Baltimore City's math scores were the lowest in the state. All right, just 7%. Baltimore, by the way, is the largest city in the state by leaps and bounds, so people understand just how big Baltimore is. It's part of the DC. There's what they call the Beltway, the DC, the Baltimore Beltway, where all the supposed, you know, defense contractors and so forth live there. All the DC residents all live here, right? Just 7% of the third through 7% of the third through eighth graders tested proficient in math, which means 93% could not do math at grade level. But that's not all. In more great news, Baltimore combed through the scores of all 150 city schools where the state math test was given. Project Baltimore found 23 city schools where 0 students were tested who tested proficient in math, and not a single student. Right? Among the list of 23 schools were 10 high schools, 8 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 2 elementary middle schools. Exactly 2,000 students in total. All right. These kids can't do math. You're not preparing them to buy groceries. You're not preparing them to do accounting or to count their own money. You're not preparing them to read contracts and negotiate salaries. Governor Wes Moore delivered his first state of the state address last week. We've made the largest investment in public education by any governor in our history state. Not only, by the way, did they find that 23 schools, all right, tested with 0 competency in math. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, and you got to understand this. These schools have, like a high school has 9th through 12th grade. What they said is that none of the students that go to the schools from 9th through 12th grade could read at the grade that they were at, or do math rather at the grade that they were at. Right?
Wow.
Another 20 something schools, another 20 or 30 schools had only 1 student or 2 students proficient in math at grade level. Okay. That's basically half of their schools. All right. And they decided to intentionally not include the quote unquote schools that are special ed schools or the schools that are the reformation schools for the the criminals, where you would expect to see this kind of result. Okay. And and yet these people have all these teachers all got freaking pay raises on the taxpayer's dime. And I would like to say that this is, strictly a problem for Baltimore, but it's not. It's a problem. It's a problem throughout this country. In this state alone, here in Arizona, they just did the whole thing. Red for ed. They just jacked up the prices of the teachers unions. All got together and gave themselves all these raises, and yet the test scores keep going down. Now, I'm not going to say that the teachers are the only ones responsible, but they're the only ones responsible. Okay? Because they they refuse to adjust to actually put the schools back to where it needs. Go ahead.
In my opinion, and this is only my opinion, I realize this, and obviously I'm wrong because, I'm a man. But what about actually doing it based on success? I.e., if the school actually gets the grades, then they get the rewards. Oh, no, you can't do that because that's probably, I don't know. Think of an excuse and add the word "ist" at the end.
Well, that is part of the problem, but the real problem is that they're more interested in making sure that they're all little social activists.
Yeah.
All right, they're not bothering to teach real subjects because they're more interested in fifis and social activism. All right, rather than actually teaching them anything.
Yeah.
And teachers don't want to be held accountable for their lack of teaching capabilities. That's the other thing. And they've gotten away with it. Why? Because all of these people who are supposedly going to be in their administration where they technically shouldn't be part of the union are still all part of the union.
Mm-hmm.
All right? They all feed one another. And everybody knows it. I've said this for a
Yeah.
long time. Look, you can talk about students, and there's always the teacher that wants to do the right thing, and they always try to point that person out as, well, here's an example of it. No. You can't just look. You got to look at the thing as a whole, and the whole thing is the structure is wrong. And the real problem with the structure is, and Jensen, as a military person, you understand this. If you do not enforce standards, you don't have a standard.
Agreed.
And that is shown by the military day in and day out for people who have served. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Your feelings are immaterial. Whether you meet the standard or not meet the standard is immaterial to getting there. You have to establish a standard. You have to enforce the standard. And if there are students who do not want to live up to the standard for whatever reason, you have got to remove them.
Yeah.
Now, can some of these people that you removed be brought back in later on after you adjusted their attitude? Possibly. But the
Cough,
real,
cough, re-education camps. Cough, cough.
not necessarily re-education camps, but a more thorough environment may help, like boot style, kind of boot style, boot camp
But I
style
just want everyone to notice,
education.
he didn't say he didn't like the idea. He just said maybe not. Please note that, everyone. Okay?
Right? And the other thing is when you got a problem in a school, don't look to the students to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the problem. If you've got a problem school, the first thing you do is you rip out all those teachers and you say, here's a new set of teachers. That's the fastest way to fix it. And if you've got a freaking unified school district somewhere, like the Chicago Unified School District or the Tucson Unified School District or the Phoenix Unified School District, what you do is you tell the teachers where they're going to teach. And if a teacher goes, well, I don't want to teach that, then you say, well, there's the door. Leave.
Nomad, how much fun would it be if you could strip out a bunch of the teachers and put in a bunch of gunnery sergeants from the Marines? Now that would raise quality very suddenly.
It would, as long as they were allowed to do their jobs.
Oh yeah, no, that's the point. You make it clear that they answer to one person only, the president. The way it's done in the military, let's be honest.
Wall-to-wall counseling has to be authorized. Sex toy dragged through woman's body in horrific MRI scan.
I'm sorry, what?
An MRI mishap left one woman severely injured as a metal core sex toy was dragged into her body.
That's what I thought you said.
A 22-year-old woman sustained serious injuries after a sex toy she had inserted was violently pulled through her body during an MRI scan at a U.S. hospital. The incident occurred when the Go ahead.
She's having the same response I had.
She's got that look on her face.
Going on.
When they say, do you have any metal on you? When you say no, make sure you are being very, very honest. Otherwise, this happens.
You didn't realise that it had metal inside it.
In that case, you're stupid for not checking.
The incident occurred.
Well, when they say silicon, No,
Mhm.
really.
The incident occurred
Oh.
when the powerful magnets of the MRI reacted to the metal core within the butt plug, which the patient mistakenly believed was entirely made of silicone.
Yeah, see?
Yep.
Oh God! The MRI scanner's magnetic force dragged the object from her rectum into her body,
Oh,
reportedly causing it to enter her chest cavity and inflicting
oh
significant
my God.
injuries.
No, 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 no.
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so funny.
Can I ask a question? If
You
you're
really don't
going
want to
in,
do that.
if you're going into get an MRI done, if you're going in there to get a CT done,
Mhm.
why would you leave a sex toy in your body to begin with?
I mean, you're in there for a long time, you know? So-
Nomad, I'm going to send you a meme. I really advise you don't put it on the screen, but I think it says absolutely everything.
What did you do, sir?
I DM'd it to you, sir.
What did you just put up? I'm almost afraid to look at them.
I would be.
I'm not putting that up. It is. It is. I will admit it's funny, but I'm not putting it up.
Can you please send it to me so I can
I did.
understand? All right.
I- Yep.
Now, okay, the damage done to this woman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, poor cat.
Anyway, the damage.
Him, Jensen.
If this thing
What?
got pulled into the center of the thing, up into her chest cavity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The damage done to the body. I can't believe that this woman survived.
No.
All right. Now I do realize that the human body is it's tough. It's tougher than people realize. It's fragile, but it's tough.
Yeah.
But the fact that this woman survived this, in some ways, I'm impressed.
Well, it did help she was in a hospital when it happened, right?
Well,
That's a fair statement.
I think that's probably true. But I just can't understand why you would even leave something like that in your body. I I can't see why anyone would want a butt plug to begin with, but that's a separate issue, I guess. I just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Drug
Maybe
counselor.
it's an emotional support that plug.
Drug counselor busted for selling crack cocaine to undercover cops.
There is number one comment.
They were annoyed about the price. That was the problem.
Yeah.
A drug counselor in the state of New York, what a surprise, rehab facilities. Rehab! Give you some rehab! Gee, I wonder why the people are feeling the rehab. Just everybody that comes to the clinic, we're supposed to be making them better. They just seem to be getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Sold crack cocaine on multiple occasions to undercover agents, according to police who arrested the alleged dealer on felony narcotics charges. Acting on tips from the public, our investigators began probing Alvin Lewis, 54, and subsequently identified him as a narcotics and dangerous drug dealer operating in Dutchess County towns about 80 miles north of New York City. On multiple occasions, Lewis sold crack to agents with the local prosecutor's drug task force, or with the according to officials. While conducting surveillance of Lewis, police determined that he worked overnight hours as a counselor on Arms Acres, an inpatient rehab clinic. Pictured above, Lewis was busted Tuesday evening while driving a few miles from his Wappingers, Falls residence. Subsequent searches of his home and vehicles yield crack cocaine packaged and ready for sale, investigators say. Lewis, who is being held without bail, is expected to face additional charges. No shit! Oh my god! You come to the rehab facility where you're safe to do drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Makes me wonder if this is where Rob Reiner's staying. Didn't he go? Have to go to a freaking mental clinic to deal with his TDS.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Final story of the day, folks. Final story. Coyote makes a mistake, winds up in an Aldi refrigerated shelf.
Please tell me he's in Korea. Please tell me he's in Korea. Please tell me he's in Korea.
Coyotes don't live in Korea.
Especially, I agree. They don't live there, at least not for very long.
Say hello to Fresh. We got fresh coyote meat.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
I like how she's trying to get this thing out with a broom. I got a tail. That was a good plan. Let it go, and it went right back to where it was.
You just so you
Are
know,
you
you're not
freaking
sharing,
stupid?
right?
Yeah, I can see it
Oh, all
No.
right.
on the YouTube.
Oh my god,
Okay,
how
good.
stupid do you have to be? A confused coyote. The coyote wasn't confused, folks. Okay, I want you to understand this. The coyote found a place where, look, food. Okay? The coyote was not upset about this. It was where it wanted to be. The incident occurred at a Chicago's area Aldi, 608 in Chicago, where the animal apparently sought refuge in the store's produce aisle. It picked an odd location. No, it didn't. It picked the location where the meat was. Why is that?
Yeah.
Who wrote this story? Jessica? Do you understand that coyotes are carnivorous? I'm just wondering,
they're
Jessica Emmett.
vegan.
Who
All
wrote this?
coyotes want to be vegans. Everybody knows that.
Jessica Emmett. Oh my god. Picked an odd location.
Are they not scavengers?
Oh, dear.
It picked an odd location. They do this sometimes. They make a mistake. They're trying to avoid us and trying to hide from us. He added that the animal that typically find themselves in a situation are the ones that haven't settled down with a mate. The coyote was removed from the store without injury. The video posted on social media shows a police officer using the back end of a broom to prod the coyote before pulling it out by its tail and letting it go right back in. All right, the post has accumulated 8 million views and over 1,000 comments. I'm not surprised. Okay, what do you expect a coyote to do?
Nomad, you might want to take note of what's going on in live chat. So far, we've got maybe it was taking a break from the Roadrunner, and from that, we've actually got it was obviously an Acme fridge unit. Yes, that sounds about right. It just says it already, doesn't it?
How the hell do you guys know about that? I thought those kind of cartoons were banned. Being too violent. Those are things I grew up with.
We still know about them. We know because they're banned. You're not allowed to watch them, but we know about them.
Oh, the other thing would have been better if they had an Acme sled. But the coyote isn't stupid. All right. First of all, coyotes are not as afraid of man as they used to be.
No.
Okay. And people do stupid things with coyotes. Okay. The coyotes in Nebraska, when I was growing up, if you saw a coyote, you could kill it at any point in time because they're carrion eaters, folks. They carry disease with them. Okay, they are highly contagious for like rabies and so forth. All right, grabbing that thing by the tail and dragging it out. That police officer was an idiot to start with because coyotes also can. They don't often, but they can attack humans.
Yes.
Okay, and you saw how big that coyote was. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to avoid attacking humans because humans are larger, but doesn't mean that they wouldn't. And if you're pulling that thing out by its tail, you're just begging to be bitten. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm just pointing out that that police officer was a dingleberry. Right.
Yeah.
All right. You would have been better off just shooting it than grabbing it and pulling it out. I'm sorry, but that would have been the best thing for everyone around.
Yeah.
Right. Although you might have damaged the freezer. I don't know.
Fridge.
Right.
Yeah.
But all the food that was in that in that thing, you're gonna have to take it out and get rid of it. Right. It's all destroyed. You can't have like I said. I mean, those things are carrion eaters. They're like vermin, diseased vermin. That's really what they are. Right.
Oh yeah.
Props for trying to pull it out by the tail. All right, but you were kind of stupid. Now the idea that it hasn't settled down with a mate yet, I don't know how coyotes the how they socialize. They tend to be very solitary anyway. You don't often see coyotes in a pack or anything. So I don't know if it having a mate or not having a mate would have made any difference whatsoever. Quite frankly. Okay. But that was the final story for the day. I hope that you all had fun and have a good day. But I'm going to let you all go. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thank you, B. Thank you, Jensen, for coming out and putting up with my little nonsense. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye, everybody.